What up, YouTube? Welcome to another HYDRA AI Castover. This is the first Castover in quite a long while, because HYDRA has been receiving some pretty massive updates. It won't even be called HYDRA pretty soon. I'll have a separate announcement video detailing that when the mega patch to end all mega patches goes live. Suffice it to say, HYDRA is much more performant now, so if you were experiencing lag or crashes, well, those are mostly a thing of the past, and we're gonna keep track of all that stuff as time continues. For now, let's just see what all is actually different. Golden Souls is a map I've been working on during some mod streams recently. You may recognize it just based on that alone. This is an Ashworld map. It's got a lot of players. I expect the result of this map will be the Protoss winning, as they usually do, but let's find out together. You don't need to worry too much about the map description because it's a scenario and eventually you'll be playing instead of watching the AI play, but check it out anyway. Oh shit! Alright, we're back. I definitely didn't have any tech issues. Let's just get right into it. We are in the observer slot for a change. Alright. So we're about to see quite a few new things, especially if you've only ever consulted the developer content for this and never actually watched any of the dev streams. You'll be quite surprised to see some of the things you are about to see. We've got 7 players in tow, and actually 4 teams. This is a 4-way free-for-all. I expect the Zerg to get taken out quite early. They usually fall to the first attack by these biocentric Terrans, and if not, they usually fall soon after from the combined might of these mech-oriented Terrans. These guys are allied at the bottom, and they all start out with some amount of pre-placed junk, mostly for the purpose of storytelling, insofar as you're already meant to have an eminent position here on the map, as the Zerg player and both of the Terran players likewise. We do have some newcomers, though, that start out with just the bare minimum, as if they were playing a melee environment. It's these Protoss over here, the Calendric Knights faction. The Terrans were the Orion Imperium, should you care to know that. The Calendric Knight red player over here is, as you can see, quite Templar-focused, whereas these guys are a bit more economical, focusing on air units, generally speaking. Now, we do have a bit of an oddball coupling, which is these blue-ish Protoss and these saffron-ish Terrans. These guys are the Golden Republic, a Terran-Protoss alliance. You will see a bit of them in this map. They usually take a little bit to be collapsed in upon. But aside from that, we are seeing what we pretty much expect out of these AI in the early stages. They're going to build up, they're going to explore, they're going to see what's going on. We do indeed have an expansion where we get to see the lovely team-colored building animations that DF put together. Now that he's done it, I really can't go back. It looks so good. The same is true, of course, for Terrans. I'll look around to see if I can find a in-progress structure. Here's a command center as an example from the Golden Republic. You can see that that also has team color now. And yes, your eyes did not deceive you. All of the warping in structures do inherit team color, which is what particularly satisfying when you get to see some red Protoss do it, which we are about to witness right now. There it is, and especially when the structure finishes and you get that nice red, deep red undertone, or I guess overtone, it ends up looking even better. We don't have an immediate march up yet, but as I say that, we do have Orion infantry taking aim. They almost always have this early strike where they will be attempting to charge forward with this attack squad. With any luck, however, the Zerg, especially with the overhauled defense code that I've been doing for quite a while, for all of the races, not just the Zerg, but hopefully the Zerg specifically are able to get some value out of that. They do pretty much only have Zerglings, and while the Sunken Colony will morph just in time, I really do fear for these Zerglings' lives as they barrel straight forward into certain demise. However, they seem to have aggressively fucked around with this attack wave, which is being recalled now, and so another Harakan will indeed die. Yes, indeed, there have been plenty of renames. For example, the SCV is now the Mason, the Marine is now the Maverick, the Ahmed is now the Huracan. Haven't renamed Zergling just yet, but that's coming. Instead, we do have Droleth instead of Drone, Ovaleth instead of Overlord. Make the Zerg a little bit less relatable and knowable and a bit more alien and foreign. Meanwhile, it appears that the anti-air capabilities of this player are not up to snuff, as they are now being abused by the ever-active Golden Fleet, or I guess in this case it's the Calendric Fleet, actually. They're going for Stellar Icon, which will unlock Exemplars quite early. Be interesting to see what happens there. And there's the new Ecclesiast sprite. It is getting fucking eviscerated, but Balothal put quite a bit of effort into that one. A couple more corrections to the materials, and then a proper death animation. We'll probably see its rise to prominence as the first properly finished unit graphic. We obviously had the Medbay, which is over here by DF, and that has received some lighting corrections somewhat recently, but beyond that, it's mostly just an argument about who's got the first unit graphic, and this is it. Here it is. See you later. I think for now, as a placeholder, I can probably throw in the Zealot death animation instead of the current custom one, as it was a bit of a shot in the dark work in progress type thing. Now, speaking of shot in the dark work in progress, we do have the scrapyard, which the building graphic doesn't have an almost built frame yet, as you just saw, but it is quite an interesting structure in terms of what it facilitates. You'll be seeing some really wacky units be slapped out of that. We don't yet have that just in the moment. There we go, the Ecclesiast showing off there, strutting his stuff. And we do actually have some Zerg units mounting an assault. I'm impressed. I think it's probably because the AI decided to go change the targets at the last second when they lost their first Ahmed, but I'm quite surprised that the Zerg have even done anything. This 3 Zergling attack will surely lull his opponent into a false sense of security, maybe even claim a cheeky Mason here. Would be quite surprising. There it is. AI are still notoriously bad at defending and, or not defending, building structures at the appropriate locations. Here you can see the Aspirant. It has died, and as a result will leave behind a damaging field that the AI will haplessly walk into. Lucky for them, it doesn't really deal an exceeding amount of damage. That is still subject to change and has not yet been finalized. Meanwhile, we do have a Cleric spinning around. Clerics can now heal all targets, not just all ground units. They can't heal buildings, which I might change, but they certainly can heal mechanical units, which is nice. On the bright side, when the units that are dying are leaving behind damaging fields, you might actually get some value out of losing them, which is I'm sure the AI is quite happy about that. The Golden Protoss obviously trying to help as best they can, but it's just no match for this infantry squad. Meanwhile, some Zerglings have encroached upon Dark Green's territory, who's got a bit of a mixed force armed at the ready, and crucially, these Protoss have been allowed to tech up quite a bit, and they do have 2 Argosies on the way. They've got Didact tech just finishing. They have Empyrean tech that's already been finished, so you know these guys are going to start pumping out some high-tier Protoss air units, because that was another thing that was rectified by this patch. Saw the new Simulacrum just there, where it's a bit more on the Protoss color grading side instead of being slightly orange. And here we go. The mech force is on its way, marching into Zerg territory. You can see some high lava, some tile set work that I've done. Try to make lava that's actually active on this area of the map, this height level. Now, there's a decent amount of defensive structures here, but I feel like it's kind of a tough act to follow in this case. We do have quite a few units over here, and there's the AoE hallucination. Yep, that's a real thing. As we're witnessing quite a few hallucinating units now. I'm sure that will lead to some chaos. Mech forces seem to be being kept at bay. Well, maybe not. All the units just popped at roughly the same time, but the Mutalisks are here, so crowd control should be a possibility, particularly with explosive damage dealing minimal damage to those units. But this is really where the meat of the battle is, the high action. Yes, we've got a Robotics Authority that desperately needs a new graphic, but can it get some crowd control out in time? I'm not 100% convinced, and this player over here has had his expansion denied, so while he sets a new one up, it's going to be a while before he can properly provide some fire support. Meanwhile, just when the last mech unit dies on the right side, this guy gets pincered from the left. The Zerg are certainly not long for this world, particularly with Shamans, who can now heal bio and mech at the same time. And amongst them is a cohort. Yes, N has made it into the game. He's a real man. And he receives double healing as his passive, so even more benefited even further by clerics and shamans and the like. So good luck ever killing him when he's got that many healers on board. Yeah, there it is. The hallucinations will start to dispel, but good luck actually getting him anywhere. I don't think you're going to be evicting the Calendric Knights anytime soon. You can see the Legionnaires are slightly more gold. Should help at a glance to differentiate. In this case, the AI really should just cede this ground and try to consolidate their defenses, but hey, we can't ask for miracles. The AI doesn't exactly know what they're doing in that respect. Here we go. There's a Didact, as well as the land effect spinning around with its disruption field. So the Didacts, obviously, they cloak stuff. It's just the Arbiter. Now, permanently cloaked units behave a little bit differently, though, thanks to Veek's handiwork and some hooks that I was able to put together. They decloak for 2 seconds upon revising in that respect. So what you end up getting is every time they attack, the cloak effect is put on a 2-second timer before they're able to recloak. You are seeing it happen a little bit more frequently here, but that's just one of the last few kinks that we need to figure out. Probably something that broke during the old refactor. Capture a lovely screenshot. Maybe that will be our thumbnail. Meanwhile, however, a very large counterattack is trying to claim the life of our lunatic man himself, the fleet man, the fleet smith. And with the reinforcements coming out of these factories pretty left, right, and center, you know, this Mason count isn't terrible, so you should be able to reinforce relatively easily, believe it or not. It's just that this red player is really laying in the hurt real thick. We've got the scrapyard units in play here, the Aspirant, Blackjack, and Cohort. They are indeed going to just fall, though. Not really too much to do. The positioning of the Hurricanes is nice, but they did end up getting focused down, so they weren't able to do too much. Meanwhile, it looks like whatever was over here was either recalled, or it looks more likely that it was just annihilated. But I don't know. I see a lot of units over here. It might have actually been pulled back to defend in these trying times. The AI does do that if they're under attack for too long, so it would be sensible, actually. Meanwhile, we of course have the Apostles. They have not casted Lazarus Agent just yet. They are indeed making things work. And this Bio Squad mopping up what the red player failed to successfully do. Maybe he also pulled his forces back, actually. It wouldn't be too surprising. And yes, in case you missed it, buildings can indeed be cloaked. The Scribe corpses here, formerly known as the Probe, have team color on them right now, but that needs to be removed because, as you can see, it doesn't correctly remember what team color it originally had. So I'll need to make a little bit of a more nondescript corpse anyway, because currently the graphic stands out a bit too much for my liking, but that was an experiment at quickly putting something together. Mech-Terrans are having the times of their lives right now as the fleet starts to descend. Still no super high tier units that I've seen. They are getting a Citadel of a Doom, which isn't going to help them too much in the air department, but they'll probably be deploying some higher tier air units relatively soon. The Didact is the highest tier stuff we've seen out of them so far, but I wouldn't bat an eye at some Solarians later on, which formerly known as carriers. However, these Orions are still holding on quite a bit, and these forces over here are kind of wheel spinning, sometimes literally, depending on how close they are to the LAN effect, one of which is stasis right now. So you should expect the mop up there, and then the Orions are in a pretty good position to actually counterattack. Remember that the mech player was able to get all the way up to this area, and I don't think there was an expansion attempt over here, but there was certainly some disruption that was had as a result of that. But there you go, the Golden Protoss have fallen. Somehow the Zerg are still alive. I kind of missed all the action that was going on over here, but they've ceded control over here. There's a Savant. I can't believe I've actually seen a Savant in an actual game. Obviously, you see some creep bugs here, but it looks like it is actually receding, surprisingly. Pretty interesting stuff. Shout out to Voyager for that cohort graphic, by the way. He was going to use it in one of his mods, and I don't think he ever did, but I will make use of it anyway, for you. My man. Love when I say my man and then pan up to just death sounds. But yeah, these guys are not long for this world. They were not able to hold on to either of their expansions. The bio player really punishing them for existing at all. And quite a diaspora of units over here too. Meanwhile, the fleet has descended. There's an Empyrean, another high tier unit. I'm scanning around for any higher tier tech, but all I see are 2 Archon archives. Bad scribe. You were only supposed to warp in one of those, dummy. What an idiot. Meanwhile, we've got quite a few fucking units over here. This is the Martyr build, which is one of the newer builds where they prioritize stuff from the Grand Library, as you can see, where they already have 4 of them in this base alone. Doesn't appear like they've bothered with building any additional ones, but that may change. We're going to see them duke it out, at least in part, over here. And if these Amaranths get close enough, just a little bit of friendly fire, nothing too badly to write home about, but it does mean that it's very likely that this base is going to fall next. Yeah, there's just been a couple of attack squads come out from the Bioterran now, and they're wiping out the Zerg, who have tried their best to stay alive. You know what? They stayed alive longer than the Golden Protoss, and maybe it's kind of a wash whether or not they'll stay alive longer than the recipients of infinite bounces that that are the Golden Terrans. But you know what? Good college try. Some defense code optimizations and tech optimizations seem to have helped them out a little bit. Maybe when it's a bit more of a fair engagement, we'll see some Zerg dominance. But right now, it does look like it's all Protoss. These Terrans have been put on quite a heavy back foot, and with 2 Gladiuses now loose in the base, these Masons are almost certainly dead. They have been distracted momentarily by a Pazuzu. There's a new damage type now, Chronal, which deals full damage to all types. Normal has been refactored to deal reduced damage to large units. So, for example, a Maverick, formerly Marine, attacking a Phalanx, formerly Siege Tank, will actually be dealing less damage. Oh, except it would be normally, but I think Siege Tanks have been refactored to medium, yeah. And then some units are large, like obviously the Magister is, so you're going to get less damage dealt to it by the Maverick and by the Southpaw that deal normal, and full damage from the Goliath, which deals explosive. But there's also a new size, which we're not actually able to see right now. I don't think there is any unit that's this size just yet. But there's a new size called Titanic, which naturally is quite large. The one saving grace here is that if this guy can somehow rebuke this attack, we might be able to see Terran supremacy. I wouldn't count on it, because there are quite a few units, man. Look at all these guys. This is the kind of Protoss Legion I want to face off against, man. Give me this kind of enemy assault. We do have a Penumbra, but it looks like it's not long for this world being focused down by multiple units. It got a lot of DPS down, but no unit deaths just yet. Shout out to 5 Nations, a game that released and then I couldn't play longer than 30 seconds. I couldn't get out of the menu before crashing to desktop. Made out of fucking JavaScript, but at least you served your role as an asset pack, so hats off to you, man. You may have noticed as well we downscaled the captaincy graphic, which is also for 5 Nations, for the purpose of making it slightly smaller in terms of its profile. So while this base seems likely to fall, even if they're able to push it back, I wouldn't necessarily put all my eggs in that basket, because now this base has fallen, and that was a pretty big element of this right side player's, shall we say, economy in general. Enjoy the soundscapes there. It's too bad there's only 8 sound channels in StarCraft, because extending that would be a fucking disaster and a half, I imagine. And unfortunately, it's just not seemingly feasible to really make use of all of the custom sounds that I've put together. Here we go. Another scuffle. One of the reasons why I wanted to show this map off is obviously I've been working on it most recently, but I also just believe that it facilitates quite a bit of different kinds of engagements. You got these open areas over here where large armies can obviously take aim against each other, and then you've obviously got more tight choke points where you can kind of fight your way around more tactically, shall we say, with a more benefit from micro. That being said, it doesn't look like there's going to be much micro going on here, boys. This looks to be all fucking macro. Yeah, creep be damned. I don't care how bad that shit is fucked up. You're not taking my base without a fight, homie. Look at all my units. So yeah, I mean, this guy even was able to keep his command center, which is comically placed, of course. However, I don't suspect he'll be able to withstand this assault. Look at this, man. Look at all these Protoss. Good fucking luck, homie. It's mostly the red player at this point. Like, these fleets have been quite powerful, but it feels like they're the punching bag, so to speak. There's a Pariah. Rare to see those, but here they are. Utter devastation, of course. All the clerics just getting annihilated. The unit renames have been quite satisfactory for me as well, because it just in general means that you're going to see... in general, it means that you're going to see just more thematic consistency between some units. I mean, High Templar has been renamed to Cantavis, which isn't necessarily even an English word. It's actually a combination of a few Latin words. But that being said, it's still an interesting one by comparison, I think. Got some mech units mixed in now for the Protoss, of course, some robotics units. These men were tired of being throwing their own men to the wolves, so to speak. They're now even decolliding. The Kabbalists are pretty nice now, aka Dark Templar. Obviously, they don't cloak if they're able to score a killing blow on an enemy. I think the Gladius projectiles bounced into the... yeah, I think the Gladius projectile bounced into the mine before it could hit anything and just fell flat. There you go. Right side of the map has been mopped up, and well, you know what? I'll say hats off to this bio player. He's making a real strong argument. Okay, he would have probably been the MVP if his buddy had been able to survive just a bit longer. Alas, all that's left of him are a couple of spider mines. Oh, the humanity. And even still, he's still got a pretty formidable army. He's got a pretty formidable output. He's actually kind of fucked himself with really stupid base placement down here, but if he hadn't done that, he would have lasted even longer. Like over here, too, you can see. He's invalidated some of his production structures, and while there are ways to fix that, it will take quite a while. Currently, we do have the Demiurge implemented as well, although I doubt we'll see it in this game. We are still evidently dealing with some tech-up issues, as this player was supposed to do a little bit more than just build up to Empyrean tech. He was actually supposed to go for Cosmic Altar, so he could grab some Star Sovereigns, but he doesn't appear to have been too interested in doing that. I have a feeling that somewhere along the line he actually failed to expand, because he only has 3 bases. He should definitely have more than that. But maybe they were taken from him by Red, who knows? Or maybe every time he tried, he was doing it maybe over here or something, and was just getting fucked by the nearby players. At this point, though, it's a foregone conclusion, boys. We're about to witness the end of a man. Essentially, he's already been ended, but, you know. And there's the dreaded AI script limit reached message. Basically, too many threads created. Tends to happen with AI that essentially has to be its own AI engine in every AI script. Quite unfortunate, but that seems to be the way that things are going. I like these guys. These are just spectators here. They appear to have been bounced by some Gladius projectiles as well. And they're forcing melee units to spin. Will they ever learn? Oh. There we go. Gladius projectiles coming in hot. Oh. Release. I don't even know what's decolliding. Oh, I guess that's just the Masons. So yeah, there was a look at ye old Project Hydra and how it's shaping up. Remember, it's not going to be called this for too much longer, but we have a definitive Protoss victory. And you know what? Hats off to the Zerg for living slightly longer than expected. Hats off especially to this Bioterran who tried his fucking heart out and ended up getting ass blasted. But he was responsible for kicking the can down the road a bit by smashing through the defenses of the Zerg and of the Golden Terrans. Maybe not the Golden Protoss, he mostly mopped them up, but this is quite a tall ask when you've got like multiple control groups worth of Atreus battering down your door. Good fucking luck, man. Good luck. I'm just checking to see if we have any additional tech. It looks like it's Citadel of Adun. Not exactly going to help when you already have one anyway. It's probably just calling the wrong function that doesn't check to see if it already has one. But aside from that, yeah, no additional tech. So I do have to look at this build and this air personality in general. But as you can see, I think the red guys are doing okay for themselves. I think they're working as intended over here. Maybe just too few grand libraries. That's something you could easily criticize, I think. But there you go. That's it, man. Protoss are clearly superior. And anybody who says otherwise, I guess Artosis was actually correct. And while we drink in the visuals of Protoss units and structures being sat here like, haha, now we have the high ground. We have the Terran ground. We'll also witness some spinning. I'm actually not sure when or how they're even going to clear these, because I'm sure they have witnesses, but they must be a fucking far shout away from it. We'll watch them clean them up, and I'll just say a few words about HYDRA in general. It's been a long time since the previous patch. I gotta say, I was not expecting it to take this long to fix all the issues, but feature creep added on to that, where we were going to add a bunch of new units and stuff, because I decided that that's something that I wanted to do. And so here we are, many weeks, and I guess at this point it might have even been 2 months or something since the previous patch. Maybe it's even longer, and I just don't remember. Just remember, I got your back. HYDRA will be activated quite shortly. And yeah, from there it's only a matter of time before we have a truly spectacular game state and a truly epic RTS experience on our hands. And even this will be a pale facade compared to what we can do with the Antikythera engine, development of which has not stopped, merely slowed a bit with the advent of realizing that Go is not going to cut it. So I will now type ukill to get rid of the mines and enjoy the fact that there's a million units running around the map. This is the kind of scale I was always dreaming of with HYDRA, and while there are some bugs with the AI here and there, and while there are still some bugs with the game state itself, and some things we have to fix up, it's always nice to see some spinning units when they are in such quantities. Oh, I forgot another mine, silly me. Of course, there were 3 left over that I may have to manually kill. It all depends. Our hopes are riding on this Legionnaire, who bravely sacrificed most of his health to finish it. There you go. It's finished. And thanks for sticking with us. We'll see you on the next Castover.